We all know what MMOs are. Massively multiplayer online games. If you were a kid on the internet back in the day, you probably played one. Between Club Penguin, Runescape, Habbo Hotel, recently repurposed as the Guilty Gear Strive lobby, and IMVU. I swear everybody was on some sort of online game. My class in year 6 all played Moshi Monsters. God damn, that shit slaps. Make a pet, color them, flex the Bigfoot looking ass monster that you made, and well, we were 10, so people dropped it, and I went straight back to walking aimlessly around RuneScape. Hey, RuneScape! MMORPGs, seemingly the only MMOs that still thrive today, take the dopamine you get from character progression and give players the ability to flex how much better their character is over other people. I guess there's also the option to actually play the game with other people, but you need friends for that. Anyway, MMORPGs have a bit of a reputation for being the video game equivalent to crack, but while crack destroys your lungs, MMOs prefer to destroy your social life? I guess crack does that too. The point is they're known to be very, very addicting. Most of the time these games have enough content to last you 3.5 lifetimes, and I can't speak for every MMO here, but some of these games are known for the grind. Now, here's an MMO you might not have heard of, Lineage 2. It's huge in Asia, South Korea in particular.
What is it with K-pop?
Now, I'm not here to criticize this game. From reviews online, it's a bot paradise with sweet pay-to-win integration for the 10 real players left. But I've never played it, and don't really care to, so for now, the game is not good or bad. However, for one man, this game was the holy grail, a masterpiece of game design. A game so glorious, it became a bigger part of his life than himself. The story of Craig Smallwood is fascinating to me, and honestly, I'm not sure how the story hasn't been picked up by more content creators. From what I can gather, before NCSoft made Lineage 2, Craig was a regular ass dude. I guess at some point he decided to give Lineage 2 a go, and from 2004 to 2009, this man claims to have put over 20,000 hours into this MMO. 20,000 hours. Okay, context. That's 80 hours a week for 5 entire years. That's 2.3 years of uninterrupted playtime. That's enough time to net you like 3 Herblore levels in RuneScape. That's a lot of time to be playing the same waifu with sword simulator. But before you say that's not possible, a week has 168 hours, minus 80 hours on Lineage 2, and 40 hours if we assume Craig worked 9 to 5, leaves us with 48 hours left for Craig to be sleeping. That's roughly 7 hours of sleep a night. This means that it is actually fully possible to be getting enough sleep and earn enough money to pay your bills, while every waking moment you're not working, you're feeding your Lineage 2 addiction. But while Craig was living his best life for those 5 years, disaster struck. His Lineage 2 account was banned for real-world trading. I can only assume at this point Craig takes a look around, sees that his room is entirely flooded with empty noodle cups, and he can't see his collection anymore. This meant betrayal.
This means betrayal. They will pay for this. They will suffer.
Think of the dedication this man gave to NCSoft. I mean, he worked literally 2 9-to-5s on this game for 5 years. That's a level of gamer dedication that only Jagex Best Boy Wooks can relate to. But this might not have been quite that bad for Craig. This ban on his account forced him to look in the mirror for the first time in years, and he wasn't happy. Whether out of spite for the banning or out of a real anger for the years that this game stole from him, Craig decided to fight back. There's systems in place. He could try to appeal the ban and beg for his account, but no. Craig decided, fuck it. What could I possibly have to lose? He decided to sue NCSoft for damages. Now, how could NCSoft possibly be in the wrong here? They made a banger of a game
certified hood classic
that Craig chose to play, right? Lawsuits against game companies aren't that uncommon, especially with every AAA company having more abuse accusations than the average Hollywood actor. However, lawsuits citing addiction as the problem? That's a bit less common. Why? Okay, I want to say I'm not a lawyer, and this is information I've gathered from my own research. Again, I'm way too small-brained for law. I had to read these court documents like 3 times over because none of this shit made sense.
Hey, what is this?
But I think for the purposes of this video, I can get across the general idea. Video games aren't illegal, and a game dev isn't responsible for someone sinking their life into one game. The ethics of this can get pretty confusing considering the mobile game industry relies on addicted people gambling. Willfully buying loot boxes to make Sword Guy even stronger Sword Guy. But generally, unless your life has been completely torn apart by an addiction, it's safe to say you aren't going to convince a judge that your consumption of a product wasn't your fault. End-user license agreements are made specifically for shit like this. You know, those pop-ups you see before installing something? They're designed to be skipped so you can press agree and the company can legally kidnap you and force-feed you dog food. Best believe these agreements will say something to the effect of, "We are not responsible for you shitting yourself because you can't stop playing our game." Now, I imagine that regardless of whether or not you believe Craig is in the right, you wouldn't think that he could actually win a claim like that. I mean, he's going against a massive company with millions in that sweet weeb exploitation money. However, Craig lives in Hawaii.
From the rocky shores of Hawaii to the beautiful sandy beaches of Hawaii.
One of 2 American states that, bar contract provisions that waive in advance the ability to make gross negligence claims. In English, that means that Hawaii does not recognize the right to simply say, "We didn't neglect this man's safety. Look, he clicked agree." Now, this doesn't mean that Craig's claims were immediately true. Instead, what it means is that NCSoft cannot simply shrug off the claims because of an end-user license agreement that nobody read. Still though, NCSoft shouldn't need to rely on their EULA. Craig chose to play the game. He broke game rules. They had every right to ban him.
You ruined my life. You did this to me.
The judge threw out half of Smallwood's claims. That's the crazy part. Despite NCSoft's continued motion to dismiss every claim, the judge refused to dismiss Smallwood's claims of negligence, defamation, and negligent infliction of emotional distress. Here's the thing though, his claims, to me at least, are actually pretty reasonable despite what Jim Sterling thinks. According to Craig Smallwood, he is unable to function independently in usual daily activities, such as getting up, getting dressed, bathing, or communicating with family and friends. Basically, he became an active participant in Tyler 1's chat. He says that had he been warned of the addictive nature of Lineage 2, that he would never have considered downloading it. Further, he claimed that while he did break game rules, NCSoft's permanent banning of his account essentially forced him to go cold turkey on his crippling addiction. I don't need to tell you that withdrawals along with video game addiction are both very real things. Going cold turkey can work, but if the addiction is severe enough, it can be genuinely life-threatening. Smallwood claims that withdrawals from being unable to play Lineage 2 caused him to suffer psychological trauma, claims that he was hospitalized for nearly a month, which in America would make you bankrupt, and that he requires therapy 3 times a week, and through all of this, he still consistently feels the urge to play Lineage 2. Look, we aren't in Craig's head, so it's impossible to really know if this is hyperbole for the sake of winning a lawsuit, or if this is his real mental state. Even if we could see inside the dude's head, it's probably just dense forests of anime waifus and that goddamn Lineage 2 cover art. But regardless, the judge said the claims are reasonable enough to warrant further action if Craig wished it. Imagine the shock for NCSoft. That's the end of the story as far as I can find it. I know it seems anticlimactic, but in the United States, usually lawsuits end in a settlement. And since the judge gave some of Craig's claims to go along, with the fact that we haven't heard from him in a decade, I can only assume that NCSoft and Craig made an out-of-court settlement. I like to think that NCSoft gave Craig an assload of money and he decided to switch to Runescape instead. So, unless the bold Craig Smallwood simply stopped trying, I think it's safe to assume he got some sort of payday. From a multi-million-dollar company, that's a huge win. And by the way, NCSoft can't catch a break. They've been going through so many lawsuits. One lawsuit resulting in them paying out $28 million. Holy shit. Along with them launching their own lawsuit against Webzen, it seems their legal issues just won't end. However, in my opinion, Craig's story is the most interesting because it speaks to the larger issue of video game addiction. Many lives have been ruined due to video game addiction. Some people even go so far as to allege that game companies hire behavioral psychologists to make their product as addicting as possible. I can't find a valid source for this, but I mean, to me, that doesn't sound too far-fetched, especially considering a company like Blizzard protecting Chinese corpo
Why do you come?
interest and having pile on top of piles of skeletons in a closet labeled workplace abuse. Video games must be enjoyed in moderation, like all things, and honestly, that's pretty hard to do. But all that is a topic for another video. For now, I just want to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the story of the man that sued an MMO developer as much as I did.